Hello and welcome to Two Words Wolves Pod. I am Ryan Eichten here at Target Center after Game 3, and oh man, we've had some fun live shows so far from Target Center. Only the one loss, um, but most of them the Wolves are now 5-1 in the playoffs. So we've had um, five fun after shows. As I look down at the ESPN crew, we can see Michael Malone, Bob Myers, Kendrick Perkins. I think that's Stephen A. Um, just an insane game. Uh, Wolves win 143 to 101, a 42-point drubbing of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Got to imagine, by far the worst game the Thunder have played all year. I tweeted at halftime I don't know if someone tweeted it, that was the worst half that they've played all year. You got it. I mean, just has to be. There's no way that sorry. There's just no way that a team that like that has played that good. Um, the big thing coming out of this game will be how much of it sticks. How much? I mean, we saw from games 1 and 2 that nothing from the games in Oklahoma City matter tonight. Um, so we'll see if that the Wolves can carry it over and win two straight at their home building like OKC did, or if this is just like a one game blip on the radar for the Wolves. I do think that at the very least the Wolves prove that they can beat this Thunder team. It's possible. It won't look like this every night. It probably won't look like this ever again. Um, but the Wolves prove that they have a chance to win this series. Um, Game 4 is gonna be a big one. It's a gigantic swing. If you're tied 2-2, you got a theoretically a 50-50 shot. Obviously the Wolves are underdogs, but you got a 50-50 shot to win the series. And if you go down 3-0 with 2 games left in Oklahoma City, that's gonna be a tall task. So a gigantic, huge game 4 setting up. But uh, just a fun game at Target Center. I always kind of try to take the mindset of enjoy the moments while they happen. We don't know how this series will go, but at the very least, you gotta enjoy what tonight was. The first Western Conference Finals victory at Target Center in 21 years. Um, 2-1. The first 2 games are disastrous, but if you told people that the Wolves would be down 2-1 after 3 games, you wouldn't like it, but you also wouldn't be all that surprised. The Wolves have outscored the Thunder in this series. Not sure if that means jack squat, but I think what was clearly premature was this was like a fluke run by the Wolves, that they weren't actually that good. Um, I think they proved that clearly wrong. This is an outstanding Timberwolves team. We'll see if it's a championship team these last few games of the series. But what's clear to me is that while they didn't play well in games 1 and 2, this series isn't over. If the Thunder thought they were going to walk through the finals, the Wolves have a lot to say about that. Um, they'll just a completely different vibe from the first games to this one. Um, One thing I thought was kind of, I don't know, I don't know if this would have mattered, but Thunder score the first 4 points of the game. They get the ball back, and Jalen Williams misses a wide open three. If the Wolves go down 7-0, maybe the tenor of this game changes. Obviously, it feels dumb to point out one basket, but then Randall hits a layup, and Dort steps on the sideline and made the three that would have gone in if he was if his foot was an inch ahead of where it was. Um, the score could have been 7-0. It could have been 7-2, but instead the Wolves immediately take the lead. So the Thunder score the first 4 points of the game, and the Wolves outscore them 34-10 the remainder of the first quarter. And it was just a beatdown from start to finish. There was a small blip in the second half. The Thunder went on a 12-2 run to open the second half to cut the Wolves lead down to 22. Anytime you use the phrase "cut down to 22," you're doing you're in a good spot, obviously. But I'll admit, I did Google biggest NBA comeback, biggest playoff comebacks in Timberwolves history or in NBA history. They I believe it was 31 in the playoffs and 36 in the regular season. As I got to paint the picture as Leonard Miller comes back comes back out and starts shooting after getting some run in this game three. Knocks down the first jumper. Um, but yeah, I thought what was really important, not just obviously, I mean, the 42 points they scored more than the Thunder are obviously the most important, but Finch calls timeout after the lead is down to 22. Obviously, you're still gigantic favorites to win the game, but if there is any shot for the Thunder to come back in that game, it was going to be then. Finch calls timeout, and they immediately respond. Wolves score the first 7 points out of the timeout and go on a 20-4 run to more or less close the game out and take out any semblance of a comeback. I just think that's kind of important that there was no even in like when they closed out the Warriors, there was that weird fourth quarter, but they were able to not even make it a problem. They actually it was 23-4. The Wolves went up by 41 at the end of toward the end of the period, and the lead was up to 45 before the end of the game, which eventually got down to 42. Uh, it's about obviously the Wolves winning wasn't they were 3 point underdogs. That's obviously not all that shocking of a result, but the way they did it, I think you got to be really surprised as some Wolves fans kind of yell at the remaining Thunder crowd. There are a fair number of Thunder crowd sitting in one of the corners here, I guess, waiting for players to come out. Good for them for sticking around. Um, yeah, the way the Wolves won has to be like the biggest story. Again, I don't know if it'll carry over. Maybe the Thunder come back and win. I would expect a close game nonetheless in Game 4. Um, but yeah, huge opportunity in Game 4. I'm very pumped. At the very least, we get a fun Target Center crowd. We didn't get that at all last year in the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, the first two games were unbelievably close. The Wolves could or should have won both of those games. Um, and then Game 5 was looked like tonight, where the Mavericks took them and ended their season uh, before the game even started. Really, um, but yeah, fun night, really fun night at Target Center. Crowd was fantastic. Andrew Carlson turned to me after the transition dunk from Ant early in the game and said that's the loudest Target Center's been all year, and I tend to agree that it was Target Center was ready. There was no like woe is us, we're down 2-0. There was none of that. Target Center was ready, and the Wolves got it done for him. Cut cut the Thunder series lead in half. Um, in Monday Memorial Day, big one. Thunder still gigantic favorites to win the series. I just checked. They're minus 1,000 or Wolves are plus 1,000. Thunder are minus 650, I think, which was basically the line after the first game. So it kind of makes sense. The Wolves and Thunder split the last two games, and you see the series market kind of go unchanged. But let's kind of dive into some individual performances here from this game. Anthony Edwards, just truly incredible. Possibly the greatest game of his career to this point. I'm hard pressed to think of nothing comes to mind. Obviously, he's had 40 something point playoff games. If the if the scoreboard required him to do that, I think he would have tonight. 12 of 30 points, 12 of 17 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3, only 2 free throws, hit one of them, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, yes, 4 turnovers. Um, but he gave the Wolves everything. He first time in the series it looked like he had really started to dominate any part of the game. Was able to get to the rim, hit open threes, was doing everything. Was the cog of their offense, guarding solid. Just one of those games. I think Andrew and I said after game 2 that there was a pretty big gap in what we've seen from Anthony Edwards versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. SGA, obviously the MVP, unanimous first team All NBA selection. Yesterday, as Ant was given second team All NBA, came up a fair number of votes shy of the first team. Donovan Mitchell getting that last spot. Didn't have a huge problem with that personally. But SGA had dominated the first two games of the series and made it check out the chat here. He made it just it was hard to imagine the Wolves being able to win this series if Shea was going to dominate the games like this. And what we saw tonight was an exact opposite, where Shea had probably his worst game of the season. I obviously don't follow the Thunder day in day out, so I wouldn't have an idea of that. But they did a fantastic job on Shea. Obviously, he misses some shots that he probably makes most of the time, but only 14 points, 4 of 13. Obviously, everyone didn't play a full extension of minutes as the plug was pulled. Um, the plug is pulled after the end of the third quarter. Uh, Leo in the chat. Game ball goes to ESPN cameraman panning to Tim Connolly picking his earwax and considering if he should eat it, which he did not. I gotta say, in the building, obviously didn't see that live, so yeah, awkward moment from Tim Connolly there. Thank you, Leo, for providing providing that wonderful anecdote. I will say some interesting anecdotes for me. The Thunder owner was sitting behind us here in one of the suites, so that was kind of interesting that had they were sitting right back there. Interesting that the Thunder ownership group uh, kind of staring felt like I'm sure wasn't noticing me at all, but felt like they're staring daggers at us the entire game. And then one suite over was the Kansas City Royals, who got walked off by the Twins both yesterday and on Friday. So that'll be fun if the Twins are able to sweep them tomorrow. They'll have witnessed 4 Minnesota sports victories in 3 days. I tweeted out that with 7:50 on the clock, the Kansas City Royals left the building, and I said that they're now mentally preparing to get swept by the Twins tomorrow. Yeah, it was kind of funny anecdote for me. I follow baseball pretty hard, and so I'm looking at the players over there, and I'm like, oh, that's a celebrity. How do I recognize that person? And I see another Royals player. How do I recognize that person? And I couldn't, without context, I couldn't put together that it was the Royals. And eventually, I see Salvador Perez, and I'm like, oh, hey, that's Salvador Perez. And then it clicks in my head, oh, it's the whole Royals team. So I was looking at Carlos Estevez, one of the relief pitchers, and then Mark Canha, one of their outfielders. And I finally put it together that the Royals, the Royals with the had the night off, got together tonight. So that's fun. But yeah, and I don't know, people in the chat can, if anyone can think of a better game Ant played. I know he scored more points in a playoff game, but I truly think that was the best playoff game he's played. Um, yeah, they did a Wolves defense did a just outstanding job the entire night. Really shut down everything. But the biggest one, obviously, is Shea. I said with 14 points. Jalen Williams never got going, 13 points. Mitchell off the bench was tied for the leading scorer with 14 points. Obviously, some garbage time there, but Thunder played their entire roster. That's fun. Let me count. Is that 15? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 guys played for the Thunder. I guess the Wolves played 13, everyone minus Joe Ingles. I'm sure Joe's fine with it, but it's just like, can we get Joe into a game? I don't know. But just a fun game. I let me go back to that for a second. I think it's important. I really do. I really think it's important to enjoy like victories like this, even if I mean I'm excited about the Wolves potentially getting back in the series, but even if they don't, stuff like this is fun. Well, we didn't get this last year. We didn't get the Western Conference Finals game at home that they won. So yeah, Wolves fans, enjoy this tonight. Have fun. Go have a few a few soda pops. Um, and we'll ratchet up the nerves again on Monday night. But for now, um, really fun. Wolves are 3 games away from the NBA Finals. They gotta win. They gotta win. What, 4? How many games left? Math is hard. They gotta win 3 of the next 4 still. Um, but but they had to win 4 out of the next 5 coming into the night, and they got that started with a win. Kind of going down the list. Julius Randle, 24 points, 9 to 15. Just, I mean, this is true of everyone on the roster, but just incredible shot making. For his, I mean, it's just kind of what Andrew and I talked about after game 2. I mean, you just have to expect the shot making to turn around. And it did in a, we'll see if we're hoping not for a boomerang kind of affecting game in game four. But Julius Randle, let's see if I can filter how many of his points were in the paint. One, two, three, four. So just four of his 24 points were in the paint. I guess he has four free throws, so we can call it eight. Um, but yeah, not it was a lot of jump shots, it was a lot of threes from Julius, but after a really poor game in game two for Julius, he went right back to being the all-star caliber player, all NBA caliber player that the Wolves have needed from him in these playoffs. Rudy Gobert, really great defense. Uh, Obviously, the offense is the thing that like the Wolves have needed more from him on, and I wouldn't say they necessarily got that tonight, but they did a good job of not causing his poor offensive game to affect them writ large. Where in the first two games, they absolutely, to me, were struggling on offense, in part because of Rudy, and that's obviously the classic conundrum. They can't just take him off the court because you don't defend well enough. Uh, don't need to go through that whole song and dance um, like we usually do, but Rudy phenomenal defensively as you expect. Just looking at the plus minuses, obviously you win by 40, whatever. Like that's just how it goes. But Randall plus 38, Ant plus 36, Rudy 23, McDaniels 28, Conley 12. Just like an insane lines from everyone. Jaden McDaniels again. Defense was the story in this game. I thought obviously it was defense and shot making to me were the two biggest things, but it's honestly like after a win like this, like it just feels like you're just praising everything because everything went well. I thought every single player that stepped on the court tonight played well. Maybe Dante, I wouldn't say he played poorly, but it was the least factor. Only played 16 minutes. Obviously, again, part of that is he would have gotten an extra 6 if the game were close, but he hit both of his threes. Wolves hit 20 of their 43s. Obviously, if you'd have told us that coming into the game, you would have assumed a Timberwolves victory there. But finally in this series, the Wolves started to hit shots. And I think what we said coming into the game still applies, where it's not that the Wolves are just only missing wide open shots. The Thunder defense is playing a part in that. They are rushing shots, they're making shots more difficult. So it's not just looking at even the location adjusted metrics or whatever, what have you. Um, the Wolves needed to, along with better shot making, needed to generate better shots, and they very clearly did that tonight. I'm very interested in looking up at when tomorrow when the full data comes out on synergy, what like the expected shot numbers were. But the Wolves are getting open looks, consistently getting open looks. The Thunder defense was not nearly good enough. That's one thing. I'm sure that some parts of this game, I think obviously like the Wolves figured stuff out and were able to do stuff that'll carry over. But that maybe accounts for the first 10 points of this win, and the next 30 were some combination of poor Thunder defense, poor Thunder offense, um, and outstanding shot making from the Wolves. Honestly, though, I'm sitting here, really cool scene. A lot of the Thunder fans that came out are here in the corner, and some of the players are now starting to file out for the Thunder and take pictures with the fans that have stuck around. That's pretty cool. Obviously, their team got shellacked tonight, um, and so now I think that's Jalen Williams, the big Jalen Williams off the bench, who's there shaking hands, taking pictures. So cool stuff. I mean, I'm sure I know I'm as annoyed by them on the court as possible, but that's a cool scene that's kind of unfolding on the 126 section 126 corner of Target Center. But yeah, continuing with going down the list of players here, Jaden McDaniels, 10 points, no steals, no blocks. Um, wouldn't say he played bad, but the defense was obviously phenomenal on Shea. Uh, the biggest number for Jaden is always like fouls and rebounds. He had 5 fouls and 2 rebounds in game two, and tonight he has 6 rebounds and 2 fouls. I mean, those are two numbers that don't always correlate with success for Jaden, but I would say a large portion of the time, those are big numbers for Jaden. Mike Conley, solid game. Not much to truly break down there. 8 points or 6 points, 2 of 8. And then the bench. The bench to me finally showed up in this series. The Wolves, um, I don't know if they need to outperform the Thunder bench, the Wolves bench does, but they certainly have to make it much closer. I mean, to be honest, if the like from the first two games, it's like if SGA is going to outplay Ant and the Thunder bench. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm dumb. It's Chet. Chet is. I mean, it's both Chet. It's both Jalen Williams and Chet, but Chet is. These are likely local Minnesotans that are sticking around. Some of them, and so Chet has come out and said hello to his maybe their Minnehaha people. So good for Chet there. Um, but yeah, from the first two games, it's like is going to if Ant isn't going to be able to rise to the level of Shea, and the Thunder bench is going to dominate the Wolves bench, like they just the Wolves just have very little shot to come back in this series. Um, but the exact opposite happened. Ant had a better game than Shea. Ant had a better game than anyone. Um, and the Wolves bench dominated the Thunder bench. Naz Reid 4 of 6, 2 of 3 from three. Let me count this up. The Wolves bench from threes was 6 of 11. No, 6 of 9. 6 of 9. Like that's what they need. I mean, that's obviously you'd take 4 of 9, but they need their guys to hit open shots. Nas hit 2 of his 3 threes. Nikhil hit 2 of 4, and Dante hit both of his threes. Just I mean, it sounds so lame, but like shot making, shot making, shot making. Like they don't need it to be this good, all these games, but I mean, there's just way too many open looks that they missed. Didn't generate enough open looks as well, but yeah, I thought Nasri's was great. Um, 4 of 6 from the field, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. Nikhil, I thought the defense on his cousin was sensational. 5 of 9, 12 points. And Dante, already kind of mentioned him, hit both of his threes for 6 points. And last but not least, and I feel a bit dumb for not bringing this up sooner, Terrence Shannon Jr. This is, I mean, this is the Terrence Shannon Jr. game. Obviously, they're already up 20 once he enters the game. But in the second quarter, Terrence Shannon Jr. playing his first non-garbage time minutes of these playoffs of this series, I should say, um, comes in, immediately sparks a run again, scores 7 points, scores 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, scores 9 points in his 4 minutes of play in the second quarter, hits a floating jump shot for an and one. That was just a crazy. I thought he had my thought process on that possession was okay. They generated open three. Thunder leave Shannon alone in his first possession. Instead of taking the three, pumps, drives, draws a foul, and hits a bit of a circus shot for the and one. Next possession down, gets the ball. It's kind of same sort of action. Dribbles up into an open mid range shot and knocks it down. And then what Terrence has done all season for the Wolves, and I'm excited to go back and listen to. I would assume he does some sort of media tonight. Pushing the ball in transition. The Wolves have been very poor in transition the entire season. They have not done well enough. They haven't done it enough pushing the ball, and they haven't done it efficiently enough. And against a set defense in the Thunder that's been outstanding the entire year, really a generational Thunder defense. Like that just is so obvious to me as a place that you can generate easier offense. And the Terrence did it tonight, pushing the ball, gets a layup. Caruso is kind of down there, and he just makes an easy transition layup as players do when they have a bunch of momentum and a defender's trying to backpedal. Draws another foul for 9 points and then has scored 6 points in the fourth quarter. Kind of took garbage time minutes to get 15 points. Um, Outstanding game from Shannon. Gotta wonder if they go back to him a little bit more as Johnny Krasinski uh, enters the court without no suit jacket for John. If you see it, he had a beautiful blue suit on, but the suit jacket has eluded him here as he crosses midcourt. Um, but yeah, just an outstanding game for the Timberwolves. Gonna kind of stall here to see if Andrew Carlson is able to join or if we're gonna wrap up here. Yeah, Timberwolves 143, Thunder 101. Um, yeah, I know, and this is a good example of why I kind of refrained from doing any big picture thoughts after game two, because I just thought that there was a slim one, but still a path for the Wolves to win this series. And obviously that has opened up a little bit more here. Like I said, game four just seems unbelievably pivotal. Um, Goes to my theory that the even number games, at least if you set game seven aside as its own thing, the even number games are the bigger ones. Cause like, um, game one, you always have a chance to respond to the odd numbers games. But like, if the Wolves lose game four, they're in the series is close to over, and if they win game four, they're right back in it 2-2. If the Wolves win game four and they're 2-2, I think everyone would have taken that before the series started. Certainly, if you told people they're 2-2 in the Western Conference Finals, everyone would have jumped at that at multiple points in the season. But it's an example of why I thought the Discord, they are lowering the entire scoreboard. I've this is wow. The big jumbotron is like 10 feet off the ground right now. Wow, that's kind of insane. I gotta, as long as we're waiting for, that's kind of cool. Um, but yeah, it's why you don't overreact to any single game or even in any pair of games, because stuff like this can happen. And to the same to the same point, like you don't want to overreact to this game tonight as well. But um, the Wolves have a chance. Uh, it looks like the Pacers will are in the spot to make the NBA Finals. That's a team that obviously gave the Wolves a bunch of trouble in the regular season. Obi Toppin, the God, would be, but obviously we're not looking at that right now. The Wolves are still trying to climb out of an 0-2 hole. They're halfway there. Game four is going to be game four is going to be nuts here at Target Center. Um, yeah, I just think going in on Shannon a little bit more, the assumption I think will be that not all eight of the the Wolves main eight rotation are going to be back next year. I think it's fair to assume that someone will not be back, and obviously it's not like they're just going to re-sign two of those guys and call it quits. They're Kevin Durant is the obvious move that they'll try to make if the if it makes sense for the roster, but you gotta. I think a game like tonight just shows like they have something in Terrence Shannon Jr. I think they've known that most of the year at this point. And then obviously you have Jalen Clark and two guys that I just think you have to have confidence in, can step into whatever role you need them to next year. And then obviously Rob Dillingham, you spent a good amount of draft capital on him. Uh, I don't think it's fair to judge him positively or negatively based on what's happened this season, but it's another guy that you'd think can step into a role. I just think thinking back to the cat trade as he misses the game sealing free throw in game one, he had an outstanding game that game. But um, regardless of what happens here, I do think the Wolves are very, very set up, as well as any team in this second apron era can be set up. Obviously, the other team that is just as well set up is the roster on the other side of the court here, and all their litany of draft picks. If you guys want to see McMahon and someone else on ESPN are, if you find that shot, they got the scoreboard in their background. If you're checking out this low scoreboard, I've never seen. It's going back up. Um, Funny stuff. I think the Wolves are just incredibly set up for success. Obviously, you got Ant and Jaden locked down for a long time. You have Dante on a nice contract. Obviously, this offseason you will see what Nas, Julius, and Nikhil, what happens with them, and Mike and Rudy are two of the wild cards. I'm not sure how much you'll be able to expect Mike another year older. And then Rudy, we've seen the positive. We don't need to relitigate the Rudy of it all. Um, I just think they're really set up, assuming that ownership is still willing to pay some sort of luxury tax. Obviously, obviously, like there's a financial realities to it, and I think there's gonna be a lot of changes business wise. Um, there's gonna be a lot of changes business wise with this organization as we wait about 5 minutes for Andrew Carlson to join the live stream here. Um, there's gonna be a lot of changes, probably business wise, with this organization in the next offseason. So we'll see what appetite they have for the second apron or for the luxury tax. But you have to imagine A-Rod and Lori have every intention of spending the requisite amount to keep this team successful after 2 trips to the Western Conference Finals. Um, I guess one note: uh, the Wolves have never been swept in their franchise history. That continues through this playoff series. Um, they get the win. Um, they get the win to avoid the sweep at least. Obviously, we're waiting on, or we'll see how the rest of the series goes. But yeah, for now, I'm going to take a few minute break here. If you want to stick with us for this break, Andrew Carlson will come up um, after a quick break. Otherwise, you can check out the rest of the pod uh, tomorrow morning in your podcast feed. So thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back in a few minutes.